Hey guys, so this is my second time trying to record this video because I want to sort of be as constructive as I possibly can with this video. I've had a weird time with Gotham Knights. I've had a very weird time. I have my live stream up of me reacting to the Gotham Knights gameplay as soon as it came out, my first time watching it, and you can sort of see my live reaction where I'm very iffy on the game. It was not really what I expected them to show. Like, of course I expected them to do Nightwing and Red Hood gameplay. We've been asking for that, but it really wasn't what I was expecting them to show. And I hope that the game is a lot more than what they're showing. If I was making a game and I were to show a gameplay showcase, a demo of some sort, I would want to show some of the best aspects of my game. Obviously, I don't want to show the biggest, greatest things ever because you want that to be a surprise, right? But I would show like really great moments, some great moments from the game, a sample of like why this game is really valuable and why you should buy it. And I feel like this gameplay isn't really that, because I do believe that I just can't believe that this is all this game really has to offer. My main issue right now with the game is this presentation. The way that it was set up, it makes it hard for me because I'm looking at this and I'm like, I feel like this demo could have been done a lot better. Like, let's just talk about the person who was playing the demo. It wasn't absolutely terrible. Like, it wasn't like the IGN Halo Infinite gameplay or whatever, but it definitely wasn't the best. The person playing definitely missed their punches a lot, punching the air as Red Hood, and missing shots with Red Hood and all that stuff. Nightwing's gameplay looked a little better, but I feel like this demo's really underselling how good the gameplay can be. I still have issues. I've always been iffy on the way that the fighting works in this game, but this demo's definitely underselling it with whoever's playing it and how it's edited together. And I think, you know, if I was making this demo, I would have reshot that. So it's just sort of confusing to me because I feel like this demo is underselling the game, but this demo is really the primary thing I have, the primary reference I have to sort of see what type of game this is, if I'm gonna enjoy it, and you know what is the overall gameplay loop of this game. And I feel like if this really is the best aspects of this game, then I'm a little bit disappointed. But it's hard for me to believe that that's true. It's hard for me to believe that this really is the best that they can offer. I think what happened was that they didn't want to show those big things. We didn't see any new villains. We didn't see much of anything. I know this game isn't absolutely made for me. This isn't my favorite genre of video game, and if I had the idea of Gotham Knights, I would probably make a completely different game. But that's not to say that this type of genre can't work and that I can't enjoy it. So I want to present here what my issues are with the game and why some of them are giving me a hard time of like seeing how I could enjoy those certain aspects, even though I could if they were done well enough. I really respect WB Montreal. This is definitely a different studio developer wise than the studio that made Arkham Origins. It's evolved, there's more people, many people left, but Arkham Origins I find to be really great. The Batgirl DLC for Arkham Knight, which was more recent, is something else they worked on. I'm not sure, you know, I guess that's in the middle of their sort of evolution, but that DLC I thought was some of the best stuff in Arkham Knight. WB Montreal reminds me a lot of like Obsidian Entertainment, the people who made Fallout New Vegas. It's sort of these studios who take very little resources and like not a lot of time, but they make some great stuff. Gotham Knights is very different from that, and I'm sort of having to grapple with that. This studio is evolving a lot. So they had, I think, at least one canceled game before this, and a lot of people have come onto the team. So this is very much a different team to something like the Batgirl DLC, even though some people are still there and stuff. So I'm trying to get a good feel for like what the studio is and what they represent and what their type of, you know, what is their artistic signature. You know, I want to know that. So like, I don't want to be disrespectful anyway. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and if you think this is too negative, that's fine, you can click off. But I just want to give my constructive criticism. I want to actually be helpful here and actually, I want this game to be better. I want to actually play this game. I want to enjoy this game because I don't think there's going to be another game set in Gotham with these characters for a long time after this game. You know, maybe there could be a sequel, but this is like the chance, you know. Ever since I was a kid, I've wanted a huge Gotham City to explore. And Arkham Knight, while it was insanely detailed, like, that Gotham was great. I love the detail, but it still was small, vertically not as great, and it sort of disappointed me. And this game is offering a newer experience where Gotham is huge. It's a bit taller. I wish it was a little bit more taller, but it's kind of too late for that. Yeah, it's taller, it's bigger, and it looks really freaking cool. Like, from far away and all these, like, covered in fog, the skyline looks so freaking cool. Especially this one shot where there's actually two shots that are very notable, where Nightwing is on that gargoyle looking across the bay to that area of Gotham we already saw, and then to this new area, which I actually made a map theory like a year ago or something, where I was breaking down the holographic map they showed from the original demo and showing how there might be a newer area that we haven't seen yet. There might be more of the map we haven't seen yet. And I was right. I was literally dead right. There could be even more. People have pointed out that there's even more of the map they're not really showing. I feel like this is probably, we've seen most of the map now. I don't feel like there's going to be a huge area they haven't shown yet. But yeah, that area, that newer area across the bay looks really cool from far away. It looks like something out of the Arkham Asylum background. You know, you can never actually go there. We can never actually get to that crazy Gotham. And now they're attempting to make that crazy Gotham. Do I think they do that perfectly? No, but it definitely is, it is close. It is getting closer to that huge, sprawling concrete jungle that I've always wanted to, you know, weave through and explore. So I thought it would be appropriate if I talked about the Gotham Knights story trailer that they released a while ago. I didn't make a video on it because I feel like it didn't make me extremely hyped for the game. But now going back to that trailer has to be the biggest reason that I'm making this video right now, because it gave hope back to me. The gameplay really just let me down a lot, gave me this perception of the game that was very negative. But then I returned to the previous demo and the previous trailer, and I can just say the game looks so good. It can look very next gen. I love the way of like the naturalistic camera moves they use in that trailer, the way that they're focusing on all the, you know, Court of Owls objects around the city, the sound design, the fact that there's no UI. I know it's a story trailer, but it looks amazing. Like, I want the game to always look like that. If I can make the game look like that, that would be great. Not having that UI and stuff there all the time, just having a pure immersive experience, that's what that trailer shows to me. It's showing off the atmosphere, the world, just the groundedness of everything. Even the crazy suits that, you know, especially Batgirl. Batgirl's probably my favorite character in this game, but especially Batgirl, her purple and yellow suit. It's so comic booky, but I just love it because it's, even though it's super colorful, it still matches the world. It's still there, and there's so much cool visuals in that trailer. The cinematography is insane. And then we get to this gameplay, and it's just the complete opposite. Literally a 180 from that, and it's just, where did that go? I know it's a story trailer, but gameplay does not mean there's no story. You know, I don't like games that separate the narrative and the gameplay. I feel like as much as possible, you should mold those together, really blur the lines between those, because that means you're actually utilizing what a game is, not just, oh, we have to put in the story elements for, you know, the plot beats, and then we have the gameplay that's just for fun on the side. No, the gameplay is the game. It's the core of the experience, and the narrative should be intertwined with the gameplay itself, not just put into cutscenes. And I hope I can make the game look like that when I play it, because the way that trailer looked was very, very impressive. We could even see a lot of the cutscene that they freaking skipped in the gameplay trailer. In this trailer, they sort of, through some editing, they show somewhat what happens. I would have loved to seen the full cutscene in the gameplay, but they cut it off. If you're disappointed right now, go rewatch that trailer, the story trailer, because it really does show you that there's something here. There's an immersive game here that this gameplay just isn't showing. So this is something I sort of want to get out of the way. I want to talk about the detail of this world and the environmental like art style, the way that they use the graphics in this game. At first, I was sort of bugged out by a few the graphics mostly. The graphics, this is now a next-gen exclusive by the way, and when I was watching the trailer, or the demo, I had the impression that this was still an Xbox One and PS4. Halfway through, I was told that this was now an exclusive, and so that sort of weirded me out because I was like, the game doesn't look absolutely terrible in any way, but I was sort of disappointed by the graphics. And I don't mean this in a mean way because like I don't need the best graphics ever. I really don't. You know, I play Elden Ring on Xbox One with 30 FPS, and sometimes it's not consistent 30 FPS. I still enjoy that game on last gen. Graphics aren't everything to me. I play a ton of old games. It's really what you do with the graphics that impress me. And one of the things that do impress me about this game is how everything looks from far away. It's very much an improvement on Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight's sort of like the way that the low poly versions of things are rendered in the background of Arkham Knight wasn't the best, and it also didn't have the scale of this game. You can really tell that this game is just huge. It's wide. This screenshot of Nightwing on the gargoyle looking across the entire bay, this is something I always loved about Arkham Origins, looking over the bay from Pioneer's Bridge, but this is like an even bigger version of that. It's even further away. It's something like, wow, I can actually go across the bay. I can actually go over there. And I think that's really, really impressive. The fog, the atmospherics are really, really impressive. There's like a train that goes by. There's still cars on the road. I'm a little bit disappointed that it feels like there's less cars on the road and less pedestrians than previously shown in the previous demo. It feels less alive than that previous demo, but there still is an attempt. I think there's some things they can work on. I feel like there's more things they can do to make the Gotham feel alive, especially this new area where you sort of look around. I don't know if this is like, I guess, a financial area. There's not many people there, but the roads are they're very flat. There's nothing really there, and it's sort of a disappointment when compared to Arkham Knight. Now, I don't need this game to look like Arkham Knight. That's completely unfair because Rocksteady have been perfecting their weird version of the engine, and that game it has no reason looking that good. I don't know how they got away with it. So I'm not expecting to look like that, but I feel like the way that they design the roads, this is something they can't really change right now, but the way that they design the roads in this more of a grid format rather than the way Arkham Knight was designed, where a lot of the streets are very intricate, they're winding and stuff, so you don't really see these super long streets where there's no cars on them and stuff. You don't see that often because the roads are constantly turning corners or constantly going up and down. There's a lot of just very flat roads in this game, and I hope that of course they don't have time to change the actual layout, but if they want to make it look less sort of empty, I think they should add some sort of things on the road. I also think background visuals of cars going, like low poly cars driving around in the backgrounds, would probably help a lot actually, and I feel like they can do that. Like on this bridge over here, I feel like they could have some low poly cars sort of driving around. There's just things that could really help make the Gotham feel more alive. But yeah, the graphics did bug me a little bit, and I think the first few areas that they showed, it was sort of inconsistent. Some things looked pretty good, but some other things looked very last gen, especially the side mission location they chose to show, which very much confuses me because, again, like if I was recording this demo, I would have probably put it in a more interesting location, and if I was designing a game, I would probably put my side missions in more interesting locations than this rooftop. A lot of this game is going to take place on the rooftops, less so on the ground. Well, I haven't played the game obviously, but from what I've seen, a lot of your traversal is going to be on the rooftops. I mean, this is the Bat family. That's what they do. You're going to be on the Bat bike, but you're going to be racing by everything while you're on the Bat bike. The rooftops really, really are important, but I'm seeing a discrepancy where the actual streets are more well designed and more intricate, and more the graphical quality is better on the street than they are on the roof. And I feel like that is a big issue that they need to solve somehow. I think they should go in, they need to add more details on the roof. I hate to compare this to Arkham Knight, but it's the closest thing we have to this game in my opinion. Arkham Knight, the detail on the roofs were just absolutely insane. The asset use, just the amount of assets they had for different ventilation system, vents, just air conditioners, grass, leaves, bricks, just all this different type of materials. It was crazy. Am I expecting that for this game? No, but I feel like this game could do a lot better. This doesn't look next gen, and I understand that this is a game that was being made for last gen and they sort of had to go back on that, so you can see the remnants of the sort of downscaling that they had to do. But I feel like really this Gotham is the main reason I want this game. It is the main reason that's keeping me interested in this game, is the Gotham itself. I love these characters, but the Gotham is just my favorite fictional city ever, and I just want to explore this. But if all the roofs are sort of very sparsely detailed, if they have very sort of bland assets like this air conditioner, which is just sort of a cube with the same texture on all four sides, it's just sort of disappointing because I feel like a lot of the gameplay is going to be on the roofs, you know? So I feel like the roofs need to have more detail. They need to have more stuff in there. This is a next-gen exclusive now, so I feel like they have a lot more resources. So I feel like the last few months of this game's development should be like, look, we have all these new resources, we have all this stuff, let's add more cars on the road, let's sort of fix the downscaling that we had to do before, let's add a lot more detail to the roofs because they're sort of bland. There's some roofs that don't even really have anything on them, like you can see in this screenshot, and that's just, I'm really expecting more from this Gotham. I know it's absolutely huge, but it's not something like Grand Theft Auto or anything. I feel like this game, being a next-gen game, coming from WB Montreal, I'm expecting a little bit more detail on the roofs. There are some other issues, like with shadows. Certain characters don't look great in shadows. I know video games, a lot of engines have a very difficult time sort of rendering shadows while the characters are in shadows themselves. And so I get why the shadows aren't perfect, but this is very interesting coming from a next-gen exclusive game. These shadows really don't look next-gen. They look very early last-gen, so I'm hoping that's sort of a remnant of the downscaling they did, and I really hope that can be fixed soon, because having the contrast be really low, having those gray shadows on the characters themselves, and then the environment having high contrast is very, very distracting for me. This is the same issue that happened with the Halo Infinite demo, where they shot the premiere in shadowed regions where the shadows look really bad. But I will say that when the characters are actually in the light, they look fine. The textures look fine. Sometimes in real time, the map can look very washed out and gray, and the shadows just don't always look the best. And I feel like the next months of development, they should be polishing and making the lighting look consistent, because sometimes it looks great, sometimes the textures look great, sometimes the graphics look next gen, and then sometimes they look early last gen. So it's like this very broad spectrum of this game where it's sort of hard to tell exactly what is the graphical quality of this game. Is it last gen? Is it next gen? It's hard to tell because there's so many different inconsistencies with it, and I feel like that's one of the things I'm really struggling to grapple with, so I hope that's something they address. So with the graphics out of the way, I do want to talk about more of the gameplay elements. I guess I'll start more with the fighting. Like I said earlier, the person who was playing Red Hood specifically wasn't doing a great job of showing why Red Hood is great. I saw this video online of a person compared the Red Hood gameplay of Gotham Knights to the Arkham Knight Red Hood gameplay. Again, I know it's unfair to compare it to Arkham Knight, but it's the closest thing we have. It has every single character in this game is in Arkham Knight, so it's just inevitable that people are going to compare it to it. And I think Gotham Knight should look to Arkham Knight and say, why is this so responsive, and why does this feel not responsive? Is it the guy playing the demo just not playing it well, or is it actually sort of not as weighty as we would want it to be? I think it's a little bit of both. I think this demo is underselling how good the gameplay can be and how there could be strategy in it. There could have more depth than this gameplay is showing. But the person playing it isn't really showcasing that. But I also do think the gameplay isn't the best. I don't think it is as strong as Arkham, unfortunately, and I hope there's something they can do. I think it's the animations especially need to be fixed. For something like a weighty, huge Talon freaking zombie dude, this massive Dark Souls type of boss guy, he needs to have a super weighty feeling. When he falls over, he's not just gonna ragdoll over, he's gonna make a big thud on the ground. That's something I think these developers need to pay attention to. The animations are really rough sometimes. Sometimes they're cool, some of the moves are nice, I could see what they're going for, but other times there's just a lack of polish there. The animations sort of stop and they freeze for a second, or when Red Hood's doing that like spray move where he shoots a ton of shots at this one guy, he's sort of just stuttering there. There's not really an animation for it. He's just sort of stuttering as the animation restarts and then is interrupted and restarts. That just doesn't look great, and I think they really need to fix that. If that's a highlight move you're showing in this premiere and the animations aren't even made for that move. So that's just a little weird. It's definitely not Arkham. It's definitely different to Arkham. Where Arkham is more about reaction time, I think this game is more about sort of customizing what you want to do in combat and sort of leaning towards certain abilities over others. The AI also seemed very unresponsive sometimes, especially on that rooftop where the enemies were really just standing around. So yeah, the combat is not the best, and I feel like the demo that they showed before, not only was it more cinematic, but the combat looked interesting. I was very iffy on the neon style, still trying to get used to this sort of MMO type of look they're going for, this arcadey type of look. But I did like some of the combat, like Batgirl running on this van and then kicking someone in the face. I thought that was interesting. It still had some very similar animation issues, but I could see what they were going for, and it was interesting. But here it's falling into the same pitfalls, but it doesn't have that cool element of like, oh look, you can jump off this wall and hit someone. There wasn't too many super impressive moments, Now, something else I want to talk about is the UI, GUI stuff. Now, I'm very, very appreciative of the fact that you can customize. There's going to be settings for the GUI, so you can change it around. And the UI and GUI is one of those things that I felt the most strongly about here, and I think needs some of the most... I guess the graphics are a little bit more important than this, but this is something that really needs some fixing. So, the GUI itself, I get that you can customize health bars. I'm really appreciative of the fact that they didn't even put health bars in here, which is crazy. So that's interesting because I feel like I want a more immersive type of experience. The arcadey elements are they sort of go against that, but I feel like if you give us options to customize the way everything looks, the way the GUI looks, like this tracker on this vehicle, or button prompts, or like percent meters for the side mission, stuff like that. I really hope the settings go far to fix stuff like that, customize stuff like that, maybe change the colors, do whatever, because I feel like the GUI and the UI is one of the weakest parts of this demo, and it's really saddens me to say that, but it really is. It really took me out of the experience seeing that menu that came up with the customizing the armor sets and stuff. It really didn't look professional. I know that's really harsh to say, but I gotta be really honest here. It really didn't look professional, and I feel like this is one of the least professional looking things in this demo was that menu. Not only is it very inconsistent in sort of style, it has this very alpha look to it. You know, this doesn't really look like a final version. It looks like a version that you would use to test the game. All of these different elements, not only are there too many elements on screen at once, the way that they communicate the button prompts with these very awkward, large, light gray shapes feels very awkward to me. It feels very inconsistent because there's other light gray elements that show up all over the place. It's this very mobile game look. I know that's very harsh, but this menu needs to be changed. Not only are people tired of this type of menu, but menus that are like it, like Assassin's Creed, their menus, even though I don't like the direction of them, they are very well designed, at least. It looks like they iterated over and over again to get a cool design. The textures actually match the world that they're in and stuff. I get that it's neon, but they have all these different colors. The only real color scheme here is neon itself. It doesn't matter what neon, it could be orange neon, green neon, purple neon, white neon, it doesn't matter. They just put it in here, and it's not really, neon isn't a concrete enough color scheme for me, and I hope we can customize the GUI or the UI itself, the user interface in these menus, because this looks very janky. I'm sorry to say that, but there's so many different elements happening. They have circles, they have squares, they have sharp edges, they have freaking curvy edges. They have all these different type of conflicting styles and shapes happening on screen that make it look rushed and make it look like this needs a huge overhaul. I think this is the one thing I really need to be overhauled is this menu, because not only are people tired of this type of menu, but it's not well designed at all. It doesn't look great. I already don't like the fact that there's all these stats and stuff that are going on. I feel like this game isn't going to do the RPG stuff, the sort of gear system that a lot of games want to put in, that they don't really go far enough with. This might be yet another game that has all these stats and stuff that don't really add to the game, and I feel like they haven't shown why it adds to the game. You know, like, show me that stuff. Like, what does armor do? What does power do? I feel like they need to actually showcase this stuff, and I feel like it's very awkward right now. I feel like it's sort of something that's tacked onto the game that doesn't really feel like it matches the game. It doesn't really feel like it's adding any substance to the game. It's just sort of there to add in more mechanics to a game that may be lacking in mechanics. I don't know. It's sort of it makes you wonder, unfortunately, and this is one of the lowest parts of this demo, I think. So the way I think they could improve this is they should redesign the entire UI. The GUI, the issues I have with that is sort of, I hope you can customize the GUI a lot more than they might be saying. I don't really want dotted lines telling me exactly where buttons are. The AR vision, which is very similar to detective vision, has the same pitfalls as detective vision, where it sort of just tells you what to do all the time. This is the Bat family. Like, they are a detective family. This is the Detective Comics, and that's their whole thing. They're detectives. So I feel like having more player agency and allowing the player to figure out these puzzles, which these aren't really puzzles, it's just sort of turn on AR mode, find the glowing object, and button prompt it. So it's a little bit disappointing to me that they didn't showcase really much player agency other than combat itself. I want there to be narrative player agency. I want there to be puzzle player agency. I don't want to just hold their hand through the whole game. So I hope that we can sort of turn off a lot of this GUI stuff, or at least customize it to where it can be in a more immersive experience and provide the player more agency to look around and sort of discover things for themselves, because discovery is much more satisfying to me personally than sort of the game telling me what to do at all times. Like I said, the ways to improve this would be to overhaul the entire UI, change all this stuff, especially the top left corner with the button, the sort of shapes for the buttons that are sort of identifying what button you should press. I feel like those really aren't going to work. I feel like you need to just design those differently because they are very vague, and I feel like they're way too big. The shapes are way too big. Everything is way too big. The font and everything. You know, you're not going to play this on a mobile phone. The font doesn't need to be this huge for everything. It gives it a mobile look, unfortunately. The top left corner with all the tabs needs to be redesigned. It needs to be somewhere that makes a little bit of sense. It doesn't really look... It's in a very awkward placement because it's not all the way to the left because of those button symbols, but it's also not centered. So it looks very, very weird. It sort of just looks like all of these elements are just sort of tacked on to this screen. Please just completely overhaul this UI because I really don't think it's working. I think a lot of people are noticing this, and yeah, just completely overhaul this. Another thing I didn't get into with the combat is the traversal. The traversal is also very interesting. A lot of people are very iffy about the Nightwing glider. I know it's comic accurate, but not everything that's comic accurate is great. Red Hood's sort of soul energy jumping, which was very awkward. When Jeff Eleanor said that, it was very... my heart sunk. It was very... I know this game is trying to be arcadey. It's trying to be out there, but this is just way too out there. The Bat Family isn't about superpowers. That's their thing. They don't have superpowers, and that's what's so impressive about them. They can do all this stuff. They can protect Gotham City without superpowers, and I feel like these superpowers are undermining that, and it's sort of tacked on. It feels very unrealistic, not in like this is very similar to real. It doesn't feel grounded, I should say. Not realistic, but it doesn't feel grounded. It doesn't feel like... it feels very tacked on and very gamey, of like, this... if this was a real story, if this was in a comic book, Red Hood wouldn't have soul jumping because it's not a video game. You know, it doesn't feel like... the soul jumping is in there because it is a video game, not because it has any narrative semblance or application. It doesn't make sense why he would have this. It's very weird. And the Nightwing glider looks very much like the Fortnite glider, so that might not have been intentional, but a lot of people have pointed this out. So if you don't want that comparison, I would change the way it's animated, the way it works. If I were designing this game, I wouldn't have any of that stuff. I would design a parkour system. If you want to make this different from Arkham, that would be my route. Because Arkham, I always wanted a parkour system in Arkham because it was very limited. They sort of focused on it a bit in Arkham Knight, but they never really integrated it into the story anyway. It was just sort of there, you know, double tap A to do a front flip. You know, it's sort of like an Easter egg. It's like, it wasn't really integrated into the gameplay super well, and I feel like this game could have capitalized on that. Sort of, this is the Bat Family. They jump around on rooftops. They need to have parkour. And unfortunately, what these abilities are telling me is that either they didn't have the resources, the time, or the energy to create a parkour system. And so to make up for not having a parkour system, they added these abilities that look very simple. They look very simple to code in. A lot more simple than a parkour system, obviously. Unfortunately, that simplicity, it makes it less fun. It makes me less appreciate these mechanics, because now I'm saying, okay, I kind of wish I could parkour around the city. I don't really want to do the soul jumping. The grapple hook looks really cool, but it doesn't seem like you can do much with it. They only showed one thing you can do with it, which is grapple and then sort of fly up, and that's pretty much it. You know, if there is more to the traversal, then you should have shown that here. But right now, it just sort of seems like you have these abilities to cover up the fact that you don't have a real parkour system, which is just very unfortunate. So I'm not really sure what they can do from here to fix this sort of issue, because I feel like they probably designed a lot of this stuff around these abilities. I know these abilities are optional, but if you don't use the abilities, then the only real free roam type of stuff you can do is grapple around. That's all I've seen. I haven't seen, at least I don't remember them ever like rolling around or doing cool jumps and stuff like that. I haven't really seen that yet. This is why I'm probably going to main as Batgirl, because she can glide apparently, and that seems actually really interesting and a lot more hard to code into the game. And things that are hard to code in that seem impressive, that makes a game fun to me. You know, when I can tell the developers really worked hard on something, that looks fun to me. Red Hood jumping on soul energy doesn't feel... I don't want to undervalue the work they've done, but it doesn't feel impressive. unfortunately. So this probably should have came up early in the video, but this is unscripted, by the way. I'm sort of looking through the video. One thing I want to point out is sort of the art style of many of the gadgets and the suits. I feel like they should have focused more on the grounded suits rather than these crazy out there suits, because I feel like they don't really have a narrative function, you know? It's cool if that's in the game, and I can see why many people could be excited for them. It reminds me of Injustice 2. But for a player like me, I don't really want to wear the crazy Nightwing suit with the chains and stuff on it. I don't really want to wear that. I want a more grounded suit. Fortunately, the suit that Nightwing wears throughout the gameplay, it is nice. I just wish it had a little bit more color variety. It feels very plasticky, and for a game that's trying to be comic booky, it still has this Arkham remnants of overly padding, overly armored look with these like metal stuff all over it, and I feel like it's a conflict of interest of like, yeah, you're trying to be comic booky with these crazy suits, but you're still armoring them. So are you trying to be grounded or are you trying to be comic booky? It's very hard to tell, actually. It's the same thing with Injustice 2, where it's like everything is super armored and plasticky, but it's also trying to be comic booky at the same time. It's a very interesting style. If you want to have this grounded idea of armored plates and stuff, add in more suits that feel very grounded to this world. If you want to attract more players, especially people that liked Arkham, which is a very much grounded universe, have those immersive qualities. Like I said, allow us to customize the GUI and the UI as much as humanly possible so that we can make an experience that feels grounded, but also allows people who want the more arcadey elements of the game, if they want the crazy neon flashes and stuff, if they want all this neon GUI and stuff all over the screen, if they want that lighthearted, crazy experience, allow them to do that. But also, if you want to capture the audience that is still very iffy on the game, allow them to have those more immersive qualities. I feel like you guys really need to showcase how much you can customize these things, because you haven't shown us how much you can customize it. You've just sort of told us you can customize it, and nothing really more than that. But again, the art style, not just with the suits, but with something like the Fastbat and the Nightwing's glider. I wish they would have went for a more unique art style than this sort of futuristic tech art style that shows up a lot. Even Arkham had this issue. I loved the tech in Arkham Asylum. There was some futuristic elements to it, but they also had this like crazy retro stuff. It was just this very unique, timeless art style. But then when you get closer to Arkham Knight, they introduce more, like, less grounded, just futuristic tech that you can't really understand. You don't know how it works. Just everything has this metal plating. It's over designed with these white bolts and white lines, and just it's all black. The Fastbat fast travel, just like, it literally just looks like the Batwing from Arkham Knight, but it's a glider this time. And I feel like if they want to make this different to Arkham Knight, stop using the same art style. Batman is dead. The Batcave is supposedly destroyed, I think. Where are they getting all this technology from? Where did they get all this access to this technology? You know, if I was designing this game, I would have it where they're really desperate. They don't have many tools. They don't have all this futuristic tech that they can just destroy every thug in the city with. The way I would do it is that they're sort of scrapping things together. All their stuff isn't super functional right now. You know, like the Fastbat is sort of more retro design, sort of older looking. Maybe they're having to use older tech because a lot of the newer tech was destroyed. But this sort of art style, I'm just sort of tired of it. It comes up in a lot of games and even movies. Like Marvel has this issue of just this sort of, oh, it's nanotech. It just works. There's just blue jet fire coming out of this glider. It just works. It's just, I just don't know how it works. It's not grounded anyway. It doesn't feel immersive to me, and it doesn't feel unique. It also doesn't feel comic booky either. So I feel like, in my opinion, I would sort of redesign those things, maybe change the colors or make it look a little bit more rustic. It's very clean. Like, everything in this game feels super clean. You have the Gotham City that's very dirty and grimy and nasty, but all the characters are sort of just perfectly normal. Like, they just constantly are going through a car wash, All the technology is functioning perfectly normal. There's no rust on any of it, even though they're flying through rain the whole game. Add those details. You know, even this could even be a shader that I hope they don't sell. I hope there's just a shader that you can put on different characters that make it look like, yeah, they've been through stuff. There's scratches on their suit, there's rust on their suit, there's dirt on their suit, because it's very conflicting between the background you're showing and the characters you're showing. So the last thing I'm going to talk about in this trailer is I keep saying trailer, the demo, is the narrative. There's not really much new that was shown here in terms of narrative, which very much disappoint me about this demo, because I feel like this can't be everything y'all have shown. I've seen the trailers, I've seen the last demo with just crazy cinematics and Mr. Freeze. In this one, we don't even see any new villains. We saw one gang that I feel like we've already seen before. We don't see anything new. Even the Court of Owls, like I said earlier, they sort of just cut it off. Just as soon as it starts getting interesting, they cut off the cutscene. Show more of that cutscene. Show more of these villains. I don't know what the motivation of the Court of Owls is. I don't know what the motivation of any of these characters are. It's just kind of disappointing that we didn't really get anything new. We didn't learn anything new, really, about this world, about, you know, other than seeing the new island. We didn't learn anything about the narrative, really. The only thing we got, which we sort of already knew, was a cutscene of Jason and Dick talking to each other in the Belfry. It was like a 40-second sort of conversation that I felt like was pretty generic. And if that's sort of the story beats that happen in the game, where they're all just sort of put into cutscenes rather than integrated into the gameplay, that's gonna really disappoint me. That moment, it wasn't surprising, and I feel like if you're gonna show a demo, this isn't the cutscene you should show. You know, you should show big, important cutscenes that are impressive, that are action-packed, or actually genuinely emotional. You know, that scene wasn't super emotional. It was just sort of a normal conversation they would have in the Belfry. So it's just sort of weird that that was shown. A lot of people also are complaining about the Jason's character design. I feel like you guys could probably change that if you wanted to. I'm not really one of those people. I'm not a huge Jason Todd fan, so I wouldn't really know personally. But there's a lot of people that are mad about it, so I feel like you guys could fix that if you wanted to. But yeah, narratively, not too much was shown, which sort of disappointed me. The overall presentation of this demo, I think, not only undersells this game, but it really disappoints people. People that were already iffy on this game are now not even considering buying this game. After my live stream, I discussed it with my friends over Discord and stuff, and they really don't like this stuff. They really don't connect with this game because a lot of these issues that are just really easy to point out that I feel like this demo just set us up for really is not helping the game. There are still a ton of people that are excited for it, and I'm happy for them, but I really hope that the developers can look at the criticism, look at the concerns that YouTubers are putting forward, that people are putting forward. Look at the subreddit. There's people pointing out issues they have on the subreddit. Listen to people and sort of address those issues, and hopefully this game can be a lot better than what this demo showed, because I feel like this demo is really underselling what this game can be. If this game really is this, if this is the most cinematic this game can get, it seriously disappoints me, because this feels like a little bit of a downgrade. Even though there was much more shown, I appreciate that. It feels like a little bit of a downgrade from the previous demo that was super action-packed, that had crazy stuff happening, Mr. Freeze freezing the city, literally altering the map design by freezing skyscrapers. That was super interesting. I thought that was great. There was technical issues, yes, but the style they were going for was interesting, and the characters looked more interesting than they do in this demo. Was it still the best? No, but I feel like I was expecting them to go even better than the last demo here, but it feels like they're very reluctant to show the best aspects of this game. I can see why some people might say that's being honest. A demo is supposed to show good parts of your game. You don't have to show the best parts of your game, but at least the good parts of your game. And if this is the good parts of your game, that's just sort of it's sort of a letdown for me personally, and I'm not going to enjoy this game as much as I would like to if this is the case. So yeah, I understand that this game has had some big issues with the pandemic and stuff. I understand that this developer isn't super experienced. I understand that they're very new, that this studio is growing and they don't really have that distinct signature yet. I hope if any dev is listening to this, I really respect you guys. I really respect y'all's studio. Wanting to be a game developer myself, going into school for game design, you guys are inspiration, and all your advice on Twitter and stuff is helpful. I like seeing that. I like preparing to go into the industry. So I just want this game to be great. I want to see what you guys can do. I want to be inspired by this game. If you guys really want to sell more people on it, if you want to get people that are very iffy on the game or downright not even interested anymore, if you want to win them back over, I would listen to a lot of this criticism. Fix a lot of these issues, and I feel like you'll win more people over. I feel like more people will see stuff that's valuable in this game. And lastly, if you do another gameplay showcase, if you do another trailer, show the best parts of your game. Have people that actually are really good at the game and know how to make it look satisfying and show the best parts of your combat. But yeah, guys, that is my sort of very long-winded response to the trailer. I hope this was constructive. I want to hear what you guys think. I know many people are excited. I know many people are critical. So please tell me in the comments, what's your thoughts? Is the trailer growing on you? The demo, is it growing on you? Is it looking better the more you watch it? What do you think they could fix in this demo? How could they do a next demo? And literally tell me how you think they could fix it. What can they do that would make it better? Because it's one thing to point out a problem, and it's another thing to actually tell them how to fix a problem. So yeah, guys, this is my review, super long review. I will see you guys in the next video.